Hello, everyone. I'm glad that you stopped by my channel. My name is Julia. You are in the InStyle Knitting Studio. This is the second part. You can find the first part in the link below the video. Today, we will start knitting this hat. Right now we will knit the bottom. That is, we will be making increases. While knitting, we will include the rising stitches in the total number of columns. First, we need to form a magic ring. We will crochet 12 double crochets into it. Here, we will knit 1 chain stitch. This is our first double crochet. I will crochet 11 double crochets into the ring. We pull the ring tight. Let's make a slip stitch. I make a slip stitch into my first double crochet. Not into the chain stitch, but into the top of the first double crochet, right here. We connect the round. We make 2 chain stitches. Next, we make increases. How do we do that? We will increase the number of double crochets in each subsequent row. I will be adding 12 double crochets. Why 12? Because initially, I made 12 double crochets in the ring. If you cast on, say 9 or some other number, then you will have that same number of double crochets increase with each row. And I also mentioned the seam, the back seam, yes, in the hat. You can knit the hat by turning the fabric, yes. In each new row, turn the fabric. That is, we knitted a row, we turned the knitting. Then we knit like this. We finished, and turned the knitting again. If we turn the fabric while crocheting each new row, we will have a neat seam at the back. But, the fabric will be so textured. I think you are aware, right? If you like it, you can unroll the fabric. I will not be doing that. This back seam doesn't bother me being diagonal, right? But I will knit a little differently. Not using the usual joining method we are accustomed to, right, but a bit differently. I like the seam a bit more than the usual joining. I will alternate at the beginning of each row. For example, in one row, I will do a double crochet under the chain stitches. In the second row, I will not do it here. I will knit right here. If keeping track of all this, the alternation of these stitches at the beginning of the row is too complicated for you, you can just connect it as you usually would, then your seam will turn out to be diagonal. Well, I think you know how that works. At the end of this video, I will compare this seam that I will end up with to the usual seam, to the regular joining that I knitted in our old hat. And I want to say how I will be making increases. At the beginning of the row, I will knit regular stitches and then increases. I will have an increase at the end of each row. So, you will understand everything now. So, we made 2 chain stitches for the rise. We moved on to the second row. This is our first stitch, knitted, right, since the rise stitches are included in the total number of stitches. In the second row, we will make increases. In each stitch of the previous row, we will knit 2 double crochets. In total, we should have 24 stitches. The first one is knitted. We knit the second one here, under the chain stitches. And remember for yourself that we knitted a stitch under the chain stitches in this row. This is our second stitch. Thus, we made an increase. In the next stitch, we also make an increase. That is, we knit 2 stitches with a yarn over. In the next stitch, again, make 2 stitches with a yarn over. And so on, until the end of the row. Look here, I have knitted 22 stitches, including the lift stitches. I should have 24. That is, the last increase goes right here. Between the lift stitches and my last stitch, which I have already knitted here. I make the final increase, and I will have 24 stitches with a yarn over. We make a slip stitch. As usual, I knit here. Not in the lift stitch, but in my first knitted stitch. I make a slip stitch at the top, and I chain 2 lift stitches to transition to the third row. The third row is knitted similarly, but here we will make increases after 1 stitch. So, the first stitch is knitted. We remember that in the previous row, we knitted a stitch with a yarn over. Thus, in this row we will not knit it, so, remember. Therefore, we do not knit a stitch here, and in this row, we will alternate. We will knit 1 stitch with a yarn over, then an increase, 1 stitch with a yarn over, an increase. 1 stitch is knitted. Now we knit an increase right here. Next, in the following stitch, we knit a regular stitch with a yarn over. In the next stitch, we knit 2 stitches with a yarn over. That is, we will make an increase. Then again 1. After that, 2, well, I think friends you understood. We alternate 1 stitch with an increase, so, until the end of the row. Well, I have knitted 34 stitches. I have, as always at the end of the row, increases at the end of each row. Yes, I'm making my last increase, and I'm working it. Look here. This is our last stitch that we just worked. Yes, we're going to do an increase right here, under the chain stitch. Only at the end of the row. 2 double crochets in total. I should have 36 double crochets. In the previous row, there were 24. In this row, 36, which means plus 12 double crochets. That's it. Make a slip stitch. We've worked our first stitch, the top. We finished the third row. Now we move on to the fourth. We make 2 chain stitches to rise. This is our first double crochet. The hat is already starting to curve a bit. In the fourth row, we will alternate an increase with 2 double crochets. We remember that in the previous row, we did not work a stitch under the chain stitches. Therefore, in this row, we'll work a stitch under the chain stitches. 1 double crochet worked. Next, we crochet a second regular double crochet in this row under the chain stitches. 2 regular double crochets are worked in the next stitch. We worked 2 double crochets. That is, we make an increase, done. Next, 1 double crochet. Again 1 double crochet in the next stitch. And again an increase. We do this until the end of the row. So this is the end of the fourth row. I have worked 46 double crochets. In this row, there should be 48 double crochets. Here, I've worked 2 regular double crochets and our last increase is in the regular double crochet of the previous row. That is, in the last one, we make an increase. In total, 48 double crochets. In the previous row, there were 36 plus 12, 48. We make a slip stitch into the second stitch. That is, the first stitch we made. 2 chain stitches for the rise. And we move on to the 5th row. In the 5th row, as we do, in the previous row we worked a double crochet into the chain stitches right here. In this row, we will not work there. We will skip this stitch under the chain stitches. In the 5th row, we will alternate an increase with 3 double crochets. 1 double crochet is done. The next double crochet is worked right here. This is our second double crochet, and we work the next double crochet from the previous row. The third double crochet. Next, we make an increase. 2 double crochets. Then 1 next double crochet, the second double crochet, and the third single double crochet. Next, an increase. We repeat this until the end of the row. We alternate 3 regular double crochets with an increase. Thus, we reach the end of the 5th row. We should have 60 double crochets in the 5th row. In the last row, the 4th, there were 48. Plus 12 will make 60. At the end of the row, as usual, we have an increase. You see, I did an increase here. 3 regular double crochets, and the last increase will be right here under the chain stitches. In total I have 60 double crochets. We make a slip stitch. In the second column of this row, 2 chain stitches to move to the 6th row. In the 6th row, we will make increases in a similar manner. Here we will alternate an increase with 4 double crochet stitches. In the previous row, we did not work under the chain stitches. Therefore, in this row, we will work a double crochet into the chain stitches. Hence, 4 regular double crochet stitches, 1 has been completed. We will make the second under the chain stitches. That will be our second regular double crochet stitch. Next, we will have the 3rd and 4th regular double crochet stitches. Then we make an increase followed by 4 regular double crochet stitches. And another increase. We will continue this way until the end of the row. We reach the end of the 6th row. My last increase is in the last stitch here. Therefore, in the 6th row, we should have 72 double crochet stitches. In the previous row, we had 60. Plus 12 will be 72. We connect it into the second stitch of this row and move on to the next row. We make 2 chain stitches. This will be our 7th row. And from time to time, we check the diameter of our base. Look, I have an 11.5, and we note that we will not complete 1 row to reach the desired diameter. I will explain later why 1 row occupies about 2 centimeters. So, the desired diameter, for example, is 15. 6 minus 2 centimeters will be 13 centimeters and 6 millimeters. I need to crochet 13.5 now. That means I need to complete 1 more row, so I think I will transition to the 7th row. Then you will understand why this is necessary. I explain everything. In the 7th row, that means in the previous 6th row, we crocheted a double crochet under the chain stitches. In this row, we will not. We will skip this stitch under the chain stitches. Yes, in the 6th row we had an alternation of 4 regular stitches with an increase. In the 7th row, there will be an alternation of 5 regular stitches with an increase. 1 stitch is completed, and we will crochet the second stitch here. That is, we do not crochet under the chain stitch in this row. Next we crochet the second double crochet, then the 3rd regular stitch, the 4th and 5th. We have crocheted 5 regular stitches, then we make an increase in the next stitch, followed by another 5 regular stitches and an increase. Thus, we alternate until the end of the row, by the way. This is the alternation, meaning that what we crochet under the chain stitch is then not crocheted. This moment can be missed if you are using a fluffy yarn. Because nevertheless, the seam will not be particularly visible, so you don't have to worry about it. I am explaining this so that the seam looks nice with a regular yarn in the 7th row. Here at the end of the row, under the chain stitch, I made my last increase in this row. As a result, in this row, I have 84 double crochets. We make a slip stitch and 2 chain stitches to transition to the next row. Friends, as a result, we have this base formed. As we continue our crocheting, we periodically measure our required diameter. Look, my diameter is about 13 centimeters. I need the base diameter to be 15.6 centimeters. Right now, I have 13 centimeters. I have crocheted 7 rows, right? So, remember always to subtract about 2 centimeters from the needed base diameter. For me, that would be 13.6. Here, my diameter is 13. It's not a big deal that I am lacking those 6/10. It is better to crochet a little smaller in diameter. That is, I am missing about 2 centimeters from the required diameter. I will stop my increases. What to do next, we will find out in the next part of the masterclass that will be released in a couple of days. So subscribe to avoid getting lost, and wishing everyone easy stitches. See